Hello, second grade friends. Happy Wednesday. Today we are going to be working on topic 15, lesson 6, which is all about partitioning of shapes. And so today we are going to be working on dividing shapes into different amounts, more specifically circles and rectangles. So your I can statement today is I can divide circles and rectangles into halves, thirds, and fourths. And so I want to talk about halves, thirds, and fourths really fast. So within this chapter of shapes, we will introduce just today and tomorrow and next week, just on Tuesday. We will introduce just the basics of fractions. And so the first one that they said are halves. And so what a half looks like in a fraction, half, if we cut something in half, we're cutting it into two pieces. So halves would be 1 out of 2 pieces. So the 2 at the bottom is the total number of pieces, okay? And the 1 at the top could represent how many pieces of the 2 we want. So this is what we consider halves. Okay. Thirds, okay, would be 3 pieces total that we're dividing our circle or our rectangle into. And then fourths would be we divide our shape into 4 pieces total. Okay, so fractions can be sideways like this. They could also look like a little bit like this, with one line over the top, one line over the bottom. That can be also another example of a fraction as well. And so what we're going to do today for this first solve and share problem is that we are going to use pattern blocks that we're going to grab here from the screen to cover the shape. And we're going to see how many shapes we can cover here on this rectangle. Now, I am going to use squares here to divide this. Actually, this, I think. Okay, so if we look here, I have basically divided this in half. Okay, I could have easily, excuse me, taken a line and drawn it as straight down the middle as I can on the computer. But what we've done here is we've divided this shape, excuse my dog barking, we've divided this shape into halves. Okay, we have 1/2 on this side, 1/2 on this side. Now, we're showing equal shares, right? This half, in fact, I'm going to trash this. Okay, this half of the rectangle now has the same amount as this half of the rectangle. Okay, that means that they are equal. That's equal shares. Okay, if we divided our shape into triangles, does this look like equal shares to you? If this were a pan of brownies and I cut these and brought them to my friends, and I gave one of my friends this piece, and I gave one of my friends this piece, and I gave one of my friends this piece, and one of my friends got this piece, do you think that they would all be happy with me? Probably not, right? Because they're not equal. So today what we're going to work on is dividing our shapes into equal amounts so that if we were to share, everyone would get the same amount. Okay, now let's try the video. If not, I have assigned it online. You can always just log in and go check it out. I think we just got lucky yesterday, honestly. That's fine. We can go back here. Okay. So if we look here at the top, I know mine is green and yours is yellow, but it's the same thing here. So it says, are these shares equal? So we have a circle here and we want 2 equal shares. We draw a line right down the middle of our square. This half of this circle, this half of the circle is the same amount as this half of the circle. So these shares are halves, right? 1/2 of each. This is not an equal share. We draw this line here, then one friend gets this little piece of a cookie and this other friend gets this big piece. These are not equal. Remember, equal means same, okay? We can do the same thing with rectangles. We drew 2 lines here and we divided this shape into thirds, right? 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. They're all equal shares. We would all get the same amount. This, we also drew 2 lines, but these are not equal shares. That middle piece is much bigger than the 2 pieces on the outside. So these are not thirds. We can also chop our circle into 4 equal shares. We can cut it in half from top to bottom, and we can cut it in half from left to right. And here we get 4 equal pieces. That's fourths. Here we also have 4 different pieces, but they're not equal. And finally, we can do it with rectangles or with squares. These are 4 different ways that we can make a square into 4 equal pieces. So in the Do You Understand box, it says divide this rectangle into 3 equal shares. How many thirds is 1 share? How many thirds is the whole rectangle? So what I would do is just like what we did up here. So I would take Miss Babkin. And you can use your ruler. I actually recommend that you do use your ruler. You could measure how long the rectangle is, and then you can see if you can make thirds. I'm eyeballing it. This is as close as it's going to get here. Okay, so these are 3 equal parts, pretty much. My lines aren't exactly straight, but they're pretty much 3 equal parts. Okay, how many thirds is 1 share? Well, 1 share would be 1/3 or 1/3, and this would be 1/3, and this would be 1/3, and the whole rectangle together would be 3/3, or we would say 1 whole. Okay, so each we divided into 3 equal pieces, 3 equal shares. Each share was 1/3, and together they make 3/3 or 1 whole. Okay. So what you have to do here is for number 1, you're going to look at the shape and you're going to decide, did they divide it into half of, a third of, or a fourth of? Okay. Half is 2 pieces, a third is 3 pieces, a fourth is 4 pieces. So if we look here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be a fourth of for our rectangle. Okay. And then let's look at the circle. We have 1, 2, 3 pieces. Our third, 3 means a third of. And then we have our square that we cut from on the diagonal, and this is a half of. Now I believe, because again, I can't scroll down, but there is another question, and I believe it's about a square, and it's dividing the square, or maybe it's a rectangle, 4 different ways, okay? Use this up here to help you with that. How can you divide a square or rectangle 4 different ways? Here's the perfect example, okay? And then as you continue through, okay, it's going to ask you to show 2 different ways. It's going to tell you 3 equal shares, show me in 2 different ways. So this one, you could go this way, would be one way to show it. This would be another way to show it. So each share is a third of the whole. Okay. And each whole is 3/3. And that's what you're going to keep doing today. If you have any questions, you can send me a message. Otherwise, this is something that we can go over on Friday during our Zoom when we're reviewing our math from the week. Have fun.